So I'm just going to record like a nice little spontaneous morning routine. So we'll start off, as always, really, by waking up the feet. We'll do toe lifts. So big toes up, and all the other toes, keep them on the ground. And then swap that over, big toes down and all the other toes lifting up, and see if you can spread out those toes. If you really can't do it, you can just place your hands there just to start waking up the neurons and whatnot. Just do toe swaps. Swap, 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 swap. Cool. Now rolling on the ankles. Keeping a nice soft bend in the knees. You'll see that and relax the ankles. Bend the knees, sending the weight over the front of the foot a little bit. And we're sort of I'm using the ankles to send the pelvis side to side, and my whole body's sending a wave up my whole body, so I'm not rigid. I'm just relaxing everything into the ground, dropping my weight into the ground, through the ankles, into the feet. Nice. Now coming up onto the balls of the feet, and then onto the heels. And we're going to use the arms to swing. Now, so when I'm on the balls of my feet, on the heels of my feet, my hands are going forward, and when I'm on the balls, they're going back. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to swap that. So it's going to feel a bit weird. We're going to go up, hands forward, up on the balls, and then back on the heels. Nice. Alright, now we're going to bring those two together. We're going to come up on the balls and then roll to the left on the heels, roll to the right, up on the balls. So it's like our feet are on balls, like a semi-circular ball on the bottom of our foot. Just rolling around, waking up those feet, staying with what feels good. Nice. And reverse that. Using the arms to balance. Cool. Alright. Just sending the knee in a circle and just waking up that ankle a little bit more. Trying to make a circle with the ankle. Noticing where you feel a little restricted and trying to smooth that out over time. And reverse. shifting the weight onto that foot, and then nice circles, smoothing them out. Notice what shape you are making at the moment, and that's okay. If it's square, if it's triangle, if it's octagon, pentagon, let it be okay, but just notice it, bring your awareness to it, and intend to make it a circle. And reverse direction. At all times, so moving forward we want to be keeping our little tripod on the ground. So if like one of these points wants to lift off, we're gonna be shifting our weight, so that shifting the weight of the pelvis so that it's pressing down into all three of those points on both feet, or one foot if we're on one foot, as a theme, and just noticing where you want to lift those up at times. Okay, moving up into the hips. We're gonna do like a minute on each of these transitions, and so I'm gonna set a timer. So we're starting off just by going, so we're gonna keep the torso long, and we're just gonna stretch the hips from side to side. So sending the hips side to side for a minute. And just keeping in, like, so I'm not like going forwards or backwards, I'm keeping in that frontal plane. And keeping a soft, slight bend in the knees, and keeping the tripods of my feet on the ground. And you can go as, I would invite you to, if it's your first time doing these, to just do it nice and slow, keeping within a range that feels good, feels nice, feels like you're getting a nice stretch. And over time, you can get a little bit more dynamic. But take your time with all of these transitions. Okay, now the next one is front and back, so keeping that soft bend in the knees, and just going to where your hamstrings will allow and your hip flexors will allow. Nice gentle bend in the knees, keeping those tripods on the ground. Okay, next one is, I'm going to send it out in a diagonal. So sort of diagonally forward to the left, diagonally back to the right. Again, just finding the space where you feel a nice stretch. So it's sort of like a 45, but maybe you can play around with that slightly till you find what feels like you're getting a nice stretch there. And take it slow in the beginning, just finding out where your range is, and bouncing into that and out of it. Again, keeping that torso nice and long. Okay, now this way, diagonally. And our attention is in the center of the pelvis. So we're working on the 3 body weight centers here. And we're starting with the pelvis. So, dropping our attention into the center of the pelvis, locating where that is, and moving that. Okay. Next one is rotating. So again, tension in the pelvis. And then just rotating left and right. In the hip sockets. Keeping the feet on the floor, keeping the knees slightly bent. My feet are sliding on this soggy decking. So you feel like if you're keeping your feet on the your 2 tripods on the floor, you'll feel that you can create torque by pushing the heel down, 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 and keeping that attention in the pelvis, in the pelvic floor. A little bit of tone in the pelvic floor and in the abs. Okay, nice. Now we're going to take those into circles. So we're going to bring all of that together. We're going to take it in a nice circle. Now take this slowly, just feeling all of those planes that we've explored, and we're going to fill in all the gaps. Okay, now reverse that. You can probably hear the cows munching grass next to me. Machines over at the quarry. It's a beautiful September morning. Nice. Alright, so now we've woken up that pelvic center. We're going to move up into the chest. So on this one we're going to keep the awareness in the center of the chest, just behind the sternum. So we have these 3 body weight centers, and they all have a physiological center, the place where they rotate around. And so we're exploring that. So we're going to do the same kind of movements with the rib cage now. So just closing up everything between the ribs and the hip. But we're keeping the head in line. So I'm not collapsing the head down. I'm keeping the head in line with the torso. And it can help to place our hands on our sternum and our chest, so we can feel, we can get some proprioceptive awareness, some sensation there. Feel where that axis is that we're rotating on. Keeping the soft bend in the knees. Taking it as slow as you want, as you feel you need. And obviously, over time, you can begin to bring some dynamic movement into it. Okay, and then we're going to keep in that chin, so you can put your hand like this here. So we're collapsing the sternum and then opening it. Take your time with this one in the beginning. And you can rotate the shoulders out to help accentuate the movement. And we're sort of mobilizing the thoracic spine here and the sternum. The bottom of the pelvis is staying pretty steady. Soft bend in the knees. Both tripods connecting with the ground. And then the diagonals. So forward to the left, backwards to the right. Keeping that head locked into the rib cage, not separated from it in movement, but moving with it. Just again, finding your angle, more or less a 45, but whatever feels good in your body. And then the other diagonal. Keeping the awareness in the center of the rib cage, feeling that central point, that's where it's pivoting. Okay, with this one, we're going to imagine our belt buckle is pointing forward and it stays forward. And then we're going to shine the headlight of our rib cage in the center of our rib cage to one side and then the other. And we're going to try and keep that belt buckle facing forward. It's a tricky one, and the movement might be quite small in the beginning, and the head's going to follow the rib cage. So we're not letting the pelvis turn at all. It might be a very small movement like it is with me. again, keeping the awareness in the center of the rib cage, cultivating a relationship with that center. Okay, now we're going to take all of that and bring it into a circle. Smoothing out the edges. Taking it nice and slow. And then reverse direction. Lovely. Okay, now we're going to take it into the third body weight center, the head. Take it really easy with your neck on this one. Take it really slow, get to know your neck. The attention again is, we have this central axis in the head, sort of around about the bottom of the ears through, and then obviously through that way we have this central axis. So we're just going to place the attention in the center of the head, and we're just going to start off by dropping it to the side. Again, keeping those knees soft, relaxed ankles, weight evenly distributed on the feet, maybe with a slight emphasis towards the heel, maybe 60% towards the heel, but 50-50 on each foot, keeping those three tripods in contact with the ground. Attention in the center of the head. Little bit of tone in the abs just to support, and never hold your breath unless it's consciously doing so for a reason. Just always keep breathing. Okay, forwards and backwards. Just check in with your three body weight centers. Is your pelvis stacked evenly over your feet? Is your rib cage stacked over your pelvis? Mine has a tendency to drift backwards. I have a condition that habituates me towards that position, and so I get to constantly work at bringing that forward. And these movements are very helpful at developing my body map, my awareness, where my brain, developing the somatosensory cortex, cultivating a relationship with the centers of these parts of the body. so that I know where they are in space, and providing me with different experiences than my habits. Okay, now we're going to do our diagonals. So diagonally forward to the left, diagonally back to the right. Relaxing the shoulders. And I'm keeping my hand on my chest just so I can feel its position, and so that it's sort of stacked nicely with the pelvis. And my head is moving in relation to that rib cage. Okay, other way. Diagonally forward to the right, diagonally back to the left. Taking it really easy on your neck. It's a very sensitive area, a lot of nerves. So take it really slow. Don't try to match my speed if it doesn't feel comfortable to you. Just take it really, you could just take this one really slow. Just mapping out. We're not just trying to bang it around, we're trying to map the journey from here to here, so that our brain knows what that journey is, so that in life, when stuff happens, when we look over our shoulder to reverse the car, or someone calls our name, we've explored these ranges in a safe way, so that when life happens, we're prepared. Okay, and just rotating to the left, to the right, and again just staying within what's comfortable. If you notice any pinching, just come back from that. With practice, those knots, those pinchy areas, they will yield as your body realizes that it's safe. And again, just bringing the attention to the center of the head, softening those knees, balancing the pelvis over the feet evenly, balancing the rib cage over the pelvis, balancing the head over the rib cage. Nice, and now taking it really gently, we're going to bring that circle in. Bring everything together. Where's your attention? Can you bring it to the center of the head? Then reverse. Nice and gentle. popping and cracking is good, as long as it feels good. Nice. Just feel that for a moment. Check in with the feet. 60-40 front to back, so a little bit more in the heel just so we can activate the back line. Eyes on the horizon. Relaxing those knees. Feeling the pelvis. Can you feel where your pelvis is? Can you sense that a little bit more than before? Now feel your rib cage. How does that feel? Can you feel it stacked nicely over your pelvis? And how's your head? Can you feel those parts a little bit more than when we started? Nice. Cool. We're just gonna bring our attention into the shoulders a little bit now. And we're just gonna, let me see now. We're gonna do, so just bring it into a swing to start with. And so I'm bouncing from the knee, from the feet. And I'm allowing my spine to be free. I'm not rigid. And I'm relaxing my shoulders, keeping my 3 body weight centers in my awareness, and I'm allowing them to bob and dance with one another. The spine is, there's a gentle wave moving through the spine. My head is bobbing backwards and forwards. My pelvis is bouncing on my heels. Okay, now we're going to just add a layer of complexity. We're going to take the right, as we swing forward, we're going to take the right arm back. And we're going to rotate the torso. And then we're going to swing down, rotate the torso that way. And we're just going to do that for a bit. So the hands meet at the top and then drop down, and meet at the top, drop down. So they meet at the bottom and at the top. So we're going to swing that way for a bit. And I'm driving it from the ground. I'm dropping into the ground and then pushing away, which is driving the movement. And I'm feeling like my arms are connected to my lower back, to the center of the body, the physiological center. And now I'm going to trace the back hand with my eyes. So whatever hand is back, my eyes trace. So I'm looking back here, and then I'm looking back here as the other arm goes back. I'm going to get a little bit dizzy, so we're going to reverse that. If looking back is too much, don't worry about it, just drop that. It can make you a little bit dizzy. Okay, now one more layer of complexity. Let me just figure this one out for a second. It's been a minute since I've done it. So we've got the swing, we've got that, and then we bring it up, and then we drop, and then we split, swing, drop, split, swing, drop, split to the right, and then we drop it, we swing to the left, and then we bring, when both hands come to the top, we just drop them down, and then we split to the left first, swing to the right, and drop them down, and then split to the right, swing to the left, drop, split to the left, swing to the right, drop, left, right, boom, right, left, drop, left, right, drop, right, left, drop, left, right, drop, right, left, drop. And I'm going to trace the back hand, whatever hand is at the back, I'm going to trace that with my eyes. So you can slow it right down. Right, left, drop, split to the right, swing down to the bottom, and then turn to the left, splitting again, up to the top. When they meet at the top, drop, and then we split the other way, boom. Following the backhand with the eyes. Nice. Bounce, 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 bounce. Okay. Shake it out. Shake out the ankles, the knees, the hips. Shake the femur left and right, so the foot's doing that, but the movement's coming from here. So I'm shaking all the meat on the top of my leg. And if that's tricky, I know how tricky that can be in the beginning, but you will get it. If it's really tricky and you can't do it, just shake out the meat there so that you can rattle out all the tension that's been building up. Okay, and the other foot, keeping a nice soft bend in the knee of the standing leg, relaxing the ankle, allowing the weight to drop evenly into the foot. Shoulders. Allowing the scapula to slide up and down the spine. Elbows, wrists, all right. Now we're going to bend forward, but just go to what's comfortable for you. So we're just going to roll the spine down one vertebrae at a time, and we're just going to hang out here for a moment. I'm rotating my pelvis. If I had headlights on my butt cheeks, I'm pointing them up to just elongate the hamstrings, keeping the spine nice and long. Whatever feels comfortable and safe for you. My hamstrings usually need a little bit of waking up. My pelvic floor is active to help accentuate that stretch, help accentuate the opening there. just hang out here. If you need to push your arms on your shins just to take some of the weight, that's fine. And then we're just going to slightly rotate to the right and to the left. I've got a little bend in my knees as I rotate left and right. Just stay with what feels safe and nourishing. Stay away from any pinching pain. And now if it feels comfortable to you, you can just stay there, you can hang out there wherever feels comfortable, or you can take it to the next step, which is I'm going to rotate to the left. I'm going to sort of open up my hips here, and I'm going to press that heel, the right heel, down and away. That's going to lift up my torso a little bit, and then I'm going to rotate to the other side and just feel the lower back release a little bit. Just let it open up gently, and then pushing that heel. So as I rotate to the right, I'm pushing the left heel down and away, which is activating this whole back side up into my shoulders, and it's lifting the shoulders up. So, you know, that movement can be very, very small for you if your back is sore. And if it feels good, you can kind of work to lift yourself higher and higher with each cycle. So I'm rotating to the right and pushing down with the left, and feeling that whole line all the way up through my arm open up and grounding the upper body through the lower body. And then if it feels really comfortable to you, you can begin to take that into a circle. If that doesn't feel comfortable, then just carry on, just rotating gently from left to right in a range that does feel comfortable. What we're doing here is we're teaching the body, reverse that if you're doing this movement, we're teaching the upper body to ground through the lower body, and we're learning a principle that Peter Ralston calls hand up, you down. And so we're teaching that there's a relationship from the upper body and the limbs of the upper body that's a downward relation, and that the upward and outward expression comes from a downward relationship. So we're kind of teaching the nervous system how to ground in order to express upwards and outwards. Cool. Taking that into shoulder width stance, we're just gonna start off by doing a gentle twist, shifting the weight from foot to foot, eyes on the horizon, fingertips like pine needles. So when I'm spinning, my hands open and they feel like pine needles, not rigid but flexible, but active. And then when I reach this point, I just let everything go. I let everything go floppy, and then I allow them to smack my kidneys. So active on the swing and then flop, active, flop. Nice. And if you feel comfortable, you can take the head into it and look behind you. Nice. Keeping the knees pointing with the toes, so we don't want to be collapsing inwards when we're swinging. You want to keep those knees nice and active and relating to the heels. The knee presses into the heel. So I'm not like twisting myself, I'm not collapsing inwards. The legs are nice, like bamboo. And I'm pressing into the feet. I'm pressing down to drive the movement that we just did with that forward bending movement. We just activated that downward relationship, so this is the chance to use it. Nice. All right, a little bit of balance work. So shifting the weight onto the left foot, slight bend in the knee, 60% of the weight on the heel. Relax your ankle, but your foot wants to feel alive and active. It's not all floppy, just the ankles relaxed so that we can drop our upper body weight into that foot. The foot's active, the ankle's relaxed. It's a bit of a tricky one, but you'll find it with practice. And we're going to lift that right foot off the ground, and we're going to create a sense that we're draining the whole upper body and the lifted leg into that foot, through into the ground. We're going to put our attention under the ground, and we're going to do what we might need to move the pelvis to feel like we're pouring either water or sand maybe from this limb down into this limb. So this limb needs to be relaxed in order for that sand to pour down. And just staying with whatever feels like, it might just be this, it might just be here, it might just be a little bit off the ground. And now just begin to explore what you've got, like where you can go with your leg. Maybe you lose it here. Okay, well, let's play with that. Let's play with where you lose it. Let's fall in and out of that. Let's go up. Let's teach the body where it's weak, where it's unbalanced, and let's not be afraid to go there and come out of it. So if you need to touch the ground, that's fine. Just play with balance. Like where am I weak? Where does the body not want to go? And let's play around the edges of that. Remembering our 3 body weight centers. So we've got this pelvis balancing on our foot. Let it be like a buoy floating on the ocean, not rigid. Draining everything. Tipping the pelvis to get that draining sensation. Playing with the places where we're wobbly, and allowing us to be wobbly. It's like, okay, we're only going to learn what that is through experiencing it, and we're only going to adapt through playing with those edges. Okay, take the weight off that foot, give it a shake out. Nice. And then this one, a bit of side to side. Nice, good work on that leg. Now, taking a nice soft bend in the knee, lifting that other foot, draining. pouring everything down into that other foot. Relax that ankle. Active foot, pressing into the ground nice and evenly, maybe with a little bit of extra weight on the heel. Playing around. Where am I wobbly? Checking out forward. What is forward like? And what is it like to the side? What is it like behind? What is it like when I take it this way or in front? Lift it up high. Can you get that sense of pouring down, relaxing the leg, pouring down, draining the whole upper body into the foot, into the ground, the tension under the ground. Where's a place where you feel very wobbly? Can you begin to be wobbly there and correct it, sort of wobble into it and then find your way to balance. Relaxing the legs. Nice. Okay, shake out that standing leg. Alright, and side to side. Alright. Taking the arms, taking the hands, fingers go down to come up. And we're just going to stop around about hands just above shoulder height, like I'm holding a beach ball. And with each breath, I'm going to inhale into the shoulders, expanding them open. Can you make your collarbones lengthen with each breath? Can you make the fronts of your shoulders open with each breath? Allowing your scapula and your shoulders just to melt down your spine. Like chocolate fondue. Allowing your feet and your ankles to melt into the ground like ice cream on a hot summer's day. Fingers active like pine needles. Shoulders relaxed and melting. Check in with the pelvis, the center of the pelvis. Can you feel the center of the pelvis after all that work we did in all those planes? Have you started to develop an awareness of the center of the pelvis? And from that center, imagine that there is an anchor hanging down under the ground, a nice heavy anchor, maybe a 30-kilo kettlebell hanging from that center of that pelvis. How does that reorient your pelvis? Imagine your pelvis is floating like a buoy and it's being anchored down. I'm not rigid, I'm not locked. I'm floating, my pelvis is always dancing over my feet. With that weight pulling it down. And then bringing the awareness up into the rib cage. How does the rib cage dance with the pelvis? And then bringing the awareness up into the head. And just placing the thumbs for a moment behind the ears. Behind the earlobes you'll find two little bumps, and underneath those bumps there's some soft tissue. Imagine two silk strings pulling up to the sky from there. And then placing one hand on the top of the skull, right on the crown. Imagine a third silk string pulling up. Now you have this anchor pulling your pelvis down, the silk strings pulling up. That just helps tuck the chin without force. It helps create this sense of opposing forces. The opposing forces of the silk strings pulling upwards and the anchor pulling downwards. And allow the breath just to drop into your center, into your hara, filling up the center. Relax your jaw, relax your forehead, your eyebrows, your eyes in the sockets. Keep the eyes open and focused on the horizon. Begin to feel the space underneath your feet. What does that feel like? How deep can you feel into the ground? Get a sense for what it feels like under the ground. Now get a sense for what it feels like above your head. How high can you reach your feeling awareness above your head? Does it feel different than under the ground? Try under the ground again and see what that feels like. And now above your head. Can you reach up into the sky, into space? How far can you reach? Can you notice the difference in feeling? Relax your shoulders. Relax your jaw. Stack your centers. Now feel the space in front of you. Everything from the midline of the body, this way, from the frontal plane, forward out into space. What does that feel like? Feel that space as far as you can feel. Now feel the space behind you. Everything from this midline back. What does that feel like? Notice what happens in the body when you start to feel the space behind you. Does it change? Do the muscles and tissues relax a little bit more when you feel that space? If you need to reset your arms, just give them a shake. And then come back and breathe open any tension. Now feel, it's starting to rain, but pretty hard. Now feel the space to the left of you. Everything from this midline to the left. Is there any spots that don't feel very filled in? Is there any blind spots? For me, my left shoulder and the area outside of my left shoulder is kind of not very well represented in my spatial awareness. So I put a lot of attention there to fill in that space in my consciousness. Now feel to the right. Everything from this midline inside the body and then out to the right. Does it feel different? What blind spots are there? What shadowy areas on the right? Now feel both left and right. And just be aware of that midline, that central axis. And feel the front and the back. And feel under the ground and above the head. And feel them all at once. Okay. Inhale. And on the exhale, just becoming aware of that midline. Inhale. Imagine there's little dewdrops on the tips of your fingers. Gently, softly, relaxing the wrists, relaxing the fingers. Little dewdrops, feeling the air brushing past your fingertips. Relaxing the fingertips, relaxing, bringing everything through the midline. Feeling the air. Feeling the raindrops if you're being rained on. Nice. Wiggle your spine a little bit. Flop, dangle, shake it out. Shake out your shoulders from all that work they've just done holding. Nice. Thank you for joining me for my morning practice.